today we will be doing Chapter 7. I'll show off Airbuster a little bit as well with this chapter, and I'll kind of like, I'll try and go through the fights a little bit more methodically. This chapter is a pretty rough one. I am going to start off with a save load. This is fairly free. Gone through Remake? I honestly couldn't tell you how many times I've completed this game. Too many, probably. So I am going to show you a quick save load. Once we zip down the pipe here, as long as you try to open the menu around as soon as Barrett says hey to you, he'll say hey, you know, he's trying to show you the Airbuster. This is probably the only, like, reasonable new save load we have. It saves about 15 seconds, so there's reason not to go for it. If we're talking about, like, hours spent, probably quite a few. But he also won't start trying to say hey until you get close enough, so you can kind of stay over here if you want. So, you want to... Hey. There you go. It is a pretty tight timing, so you're going to want to practice this before you go for it. It's not free, but it's not difficult once you practiced it. And this will skip the entire dialogue about Airbuster. We can just move on through. Like I said, you might want to save and load it there a few times to skip that. But it does save quite a bit of time. We're going to save right here on the other side of the door, so I can show you a couple of tricks here. So normally you would want to like triple slash or something here. You see how Barrett missed with that thunder synergy? It says magnify, but it's not actually magnified. He was targeting the first mono drive that I targeted here, and then if you switch to Barrett after he starts casting, you can do that. Synergy is a very weird materia that doesn't function as you would expect. You can actually forcefully retarget it by switching to the character after they start casting the spell. It is a level 1 spell, so that means there's a very narrow window of about a half a second to a second for you to switch to them and retarget it. It's something that I would practice to get used to, because it's very useful in clearing out groups of 4 enemies or more. Because Magnify only hits 3 of those, so you'll have 1 left alive. And if you have Synergy active, you can usually use that to cheese the last enemy away. We're going to be doing that over here too. And I will do this fight a couple of times. But mainly you just go over here, lock on Thundera, and then wait until you see Barrett starting to cast, and there you go. I'll show you a few times how this works. There's no way to really slow this down, unfortunately. But you always want to start off lock on, Thunder Magnify, and then Thunder. So now we're getting to the point where your materia and setup actually are important. This is something I should have showed first, but I got distracted by the shiny save load. So here's your setup. I'll go through each character and what's important. First thing of note, there are plenty of Mako shard crates in here that you can grab. I'll show you the first one you can get a hold of. These right back here have a Mako shard in them, so that's 10%. I wouldn't say it's needed, but yeah, switching to Barrett and doing that with Synergy is very difficult initially until you like program it into your muscle memories. So that's why I'm saying, like, practice that. It is free once you're used to it, but it's not free. So Lightning, Magnify, Lightning, MP Absorb. Why am I going hard on Lightning? There's a lot of machine monsters in here that we can one-shot with this and still activate A to B Stagger. So it's something that we're looking for. We also want an MP up. This can be HP up if you would like it to be. I find that MP up is a little better in this chapter because if you do screw up casting spells or end up whiffing a spell or two, it's much easier to recover your MP when you have a total of 130, because then every time you go and hit an MP crate, you get 13 MP back instead of 9. That 10% recovery is based on your cap MP, so just keep that in mind. If you're good at not fat fingering the wrong thing, HP up's fine. Don't worry about it. You can have it. If you do miscast a lot, it might be a little bit more beneficial to go for the MP up, and then you can heal with either Barrett or Tifa. So Cloud's going to want Mithril Saber. Like I've already seen here, this is, you know, your basic setup for your Mithril Saber. Double magic up, non-negotiable. You need this. Fury Ring, same thing, non-negotiable. You do need it. First Strike and ATB Boost are probably the best complementary materia you could add on. ATB Boost isn't necessarily needed, but there's not really anything better you could equip. And ATB Boost will be helpful in the following chapters of 8, 9, and 10. So there's no reason to take it off, in my opinion. Don't forget that this recharges every 60 seconds, so if a fight goes really long or you're in a boss fight, you may have access to ATB Boost and not realize it, and that could get you out of the fight sooner rather than later. So don't forget to check for your ATB Boost, and don't forget to use it if you're having issues with the fight. So Barrett Lightning Synergy, this is non-negotiable. This is 100% needed to help move this chapter forward. You can put this on Tifa, but I would sooner give Tifa both First Strike and Goddardummerung. Barrett can have Goddardummerung here, so I gave her First Strike. It makes it easier because she can actually do stuff, and Barrett can follow up with Synergy. This Lightning Materia is a holdover. You can change this to something else if you want. These 2 empty slots can be anything. But if you're following my route exactly, you're going to end up in the same position with this. Barrett's not casting anything, and his stats are kind of poo-poo, so luck ups to fish for crits will help you. EKG Cannon already has natural crit bonus, so this will increase his chance to crit and actually do a reasonable chunk of damage. This stuff right here is kind of my basic suite for him. Binding, Stagger, Skillmaster, Revival. Revival's more like I want him to actually have that. Binding is so that when he does get to a point where he needs to berserk something, he has it. The Skillmaster and Stagger is more so that I want him to have those so they can switch to other characters. He's very he very uncommonly activates either of these materia. It does leave you some backups, and I will talk about that on Airbuster, but during regular combat, Skillmaster and Stagger usually... Stagger might come up, but ATB Skillmaster won't. Now, Tifa... excuse me. He's not on EKG Cannon, he's on Steel Pincers. He will move to EKG Cannon by the end of the chapter. So that luck up will help offset the weakness of Steel Pincers in its magic department compared to EKG Cannon, which has about 200 more, or 20 more points. Berserk is actually a debuff for both. Berserk will buff the damage output of that character by 50 or 30%, and it will also increase their self-taken damage by 30%. In New Game Plus Hard, most of the time you're outputting damage so fast that you're not getting hit. But there are a few times where you want to get hit by something, and that Berserk actually makes it easier to build a limit. Because in Hard, your limit gain is nerfed compared to easy or normal. So that additional damage taken can actually be beneficial sometimes. For bosses, we're basically trying to increase their damage taken by 30%. For us, it's a mixture of both. Most of the time, it's wanting 30% more damage output, but sometimes we do want to take 30% more damage to make things more consistent. That comes up in chapters 8, 9, and 10. A little bit more because I do use self-destruct. And that strat requires high self-damage. Tifa can have Mithril Knuckles in this chapter. I opt for Feathered Gloves because it's strong enough magically that I can get what I need out of it. And it has high enough physical that it makes Crab Warden a lot easier. Because Crab Warden's rear legs are weak to physical, not magic. So you need a decent mix of both with her. I think a lot of runners have switched to the Feathered Gloves after some time, but Tifa is like the most fluid character out of all of them, to the point where like it doesn't... The only thing you like 100% want on her is always parry. She should never not have parry because it's such a fast movement tech that it it saves a ton of time. Let's actually get the timer going. I should have started that 10 minutes ago. So healing, Tifa's MP is not as important in most chapters. This chapter, she needs to have 44 MP before you get to the boss. Tifa definitely feels like an incomplete character without parry, especially in terms of a speed run, because her parry movement is so much faster. Elemental Lightning, we use this to offset that weakness compared to Metal Knuckles. A lot of the enemies are machines anyway, like Crab Warden and Airbuster are both machines, so it ends up being beneficial. She also needs Lightning for my Crab Warden, and she also needs Lightning for my Airbuster, and she's going to actually cast it, so First Strike, self-explanatory, do I really need to? HP up, this is a safety feature. You don't have to have this on her, you could go YOLO and put something else on. But this HP up will be the difference between her tanking a tank buster or dying to it and losing refocus, which is a reset. Also, just to show off the summon materia, it's not... The only one that's slightly important is Fat Chocobo on Tifa, because that gives her more HP. The stats from the summon materia, meh at best. Bahamut's kind of useful on Cloud. I mean, that's about it. Time, this doesn't need to be on, but there were older strats that used to use Haste, Magnify, and Airbuster. So keep that in mind. Refocus, we will be using this on Airbuster. It doesn't have to be on now, but by the time you get to the boss, you do need Refocus, or you're going to lose out on some pretty cool stuff that you can do. ATB Assist, also definitely need this for Airbuster. It's part of the reason why Refocus is so strong in that fight. And Skillmaster will activate on Airbuster, so we do need that as well. So that's it for the materia loadout. I'll show you my shortcuts, but shortcuts are preferential. I find what works best for you is what you should leave. So if you're not going to use Triple Slash, but you like having it on, and it's easier for you to go through the menu and tactically cast Thundiga Magnify, then do that. At the very, once you get to the end, you really want to be a little bit more aggressive with your shortcut usage and try and save time of going into the tactical menu and doing it that way. A lot of my endgame bosses I'm still not familiar with. I very much tactical menu a lot of the inputs. It does lose me time, but it saves me time in comparison to getting stomped by the boss because I mistargeted a spell. There's Barrett for you. This is his basic setup for the beginning of the game. The reason he has all 3 lightning spells is for a Skillmaster loop. This is just in case Airbuster gets fucked up. The Thunder is very helpful in getting a Skillmaster loop, so you get an additional cast, so you get an additional cast off the Thunder, so you Skillmaster 900 ATB, cast again, and you get 2 additional Synergy Thunders off of Cloud, which is more than enough in almost every circumstance to push phase. Tifa, she needs just the 1 Thundera. Focus Strike 100% needs it on the boss. You don't need it just yet. Star Shower and True Strike are more so what you're going to be using. Wow, this chapter. I also would suggest not keeping Tifa leader in this chapter. Tifa's movement with parry can be very useful if you make her leader, but in this chapter there are so many ladders, doors, consoles that have to be interacted with. You're better off making sure Cloud is right next to those than dicking around with Tifa's movement and hoping he warps to her. Because you're in a lot of really tight rooms, and sometimes the camera will say, screw you, and just go back to Cloud. So this next fight right here can be pretty simple. We're gonna Thunder this sweeper over here, and that will hit the other... You see how that laser turret just died? And I got ATB stagger. So we're gonna Thunder this turret as well. And if you take a look at it, Barrett Synergy. So the reason I did it the way I did is Thunder will take care of that turret. And this is a little bit easier tactically. If you're talking about full speed, it would be Thunder, Thundera. And then you wait for him to cast Thundera and then move with Tifa.
No surprises.
If you really want to be super optimal about it, you can do it this way too. And it won't look much different, but what I'm doing is I'm getting off a cloud before Barrett's Synergy activates and triggering it with Tifa instead. So we're gonna Thunder, Thunder up. So if he's sitting right there, you can just True Strike. If not, and that sweeper moves closer to cloud, you can True Strike, empty, and not worry about hitting it. So we're gonna go Thunder, Thundera, and then we'll switch over to Tifa here, and True Strike from the ladder, True Strike, and Barrett's Synergy will activate. Also, if you choose to not do the fight the way that I'm doing it, and you need MP for some reason, like you miscast a Thundiga, there's a crate right there. There's a lot of little crates around here that you can get your paws on, so don't worry about following my route exactly. You can very easily do this segment without MP Absorb. I just would highly suggest it because it saves you a ton of time and not having to grab the Shinra crates that have Mako shards in them. So that way you can get much cleaner movement and waste a lot less time on fiddling around with crates. Most of these crates you could pick up by switching to Tifa and parrying over there. It's not exactly a bad idea. It's something I did in the past, but it is slower. I'll keep that in mind. So, this next set of enemies can be quite obnoxious. Other runners did switch to Fire MP Absorb, Fire Magnify for these. But there is a way to get around it without worrying about it. And leaving that fight with full MP is really important. So what you want to do here is Thundiga, the Elite Trooper, and then you want to Thundera with Tifa, which you have on shortcuts. And then you want to switch to Barrett and not do anything. If one of them survives, overrun. And that's it. The reason we do all of that is because any physical attack can cause them to activate their dodge. If they are in those dodge animations, they will dodge your spell and not give a fuck about the fact that it says lightning never misses. The game doesn't care, because it's lying to you. So, if you're trying to do this at full speed, you can do Thundiga. Well, that's not the right input, actually. If you're trying to do it at full speed, you could do it right, or you could do it my way. Wrong. So we're going to Thundiga, lock on, Thundera, switch to Barrett, and you'll always have time to stop like this. Sometimes the Elite Trooper will get knocked into the other one's Thunder, but not all the time. So I'll do that a couple of more times and show you how it works. If you're worried about Tifa, what you can do is also do it a little bit differently. Just find a way that works for you. But the easiest way is obviously going to be Thundera, switch to Barrett, and then you can do Tifa's Thundera through the menu. Then you can wait. Sometimes, like I said, the Elite got yeeted into the other one. That's what you're looking for. So, Fire does make that easier, but the Thundiga Magnify Thundera works. Do not use a physical attack, Star Shower, True Strike, Dive Kick, even physical ranged shit like Max Fury. Do not use any of that. Do not try and overrun until after they are hit by Thunder. Any of those can cause the dodge animation to come out, and they will dodge your Thundiga Magnify, and you're gonna be like, great, I wasted 22 MP to kill 2 regular shock troopers. That was a blast. Don't do it. Don't be like me. If you do it by accident, that's fine. but that is not the strat. So right here, we can do some chicanery with Thunder. I think the easiest way is to Thunder one of these elite troopers to make sure he's dead, and then Thunder the remainder. If one of them survives, you can just Thunder like this. Or you can also True Strike for a Barrett's energy as well, whichever you would like. If you want to play it risky, you can always go Thunder on the elite, Thunder on the elite, switch to Tifa, and then True Strike, I guess. You could have retargeted this energy there, but this is why I use Thundera, because it makes sure it takes down the first 3 targets. The MP really isn't that big of an issue, so you're just better off Thundering that guy, Thundera that guy, switch over to Tifa, and there you go. You're gonna get an MP crate in the next room, so as long as you don't spend more than 13 MP, you're fine. Hell, even if you screw up and Thundiga Magnify, you can recover. It's not great, but you can recover. Don't bother trying triple slash or anything. The Mithril Saber hits really awfully without Elemental, so unless you've decided to go with an MP up route, with Elemental Lightning as well, you're in for a bad time. Just don't expect the Mithril Saber to kill anything without Elemental attached to it. Its base physical damage is garbage. Without Elemental's additive damage, even if it is just 23. One thing that comes to mind, actually, is Triple Slash actually has a damage reduction on the second and third slashes if it re-hits the same target. Elemental does not suffer a debuff from that, for whatever reason. I think it's just because they didn't realize and didn't bother changing the calculation. So Elemental attached to a weapon on Triple Slash does hit a little bit harder than it's intended to, and can be very strong with Mithril Saber because of that. So what you're going to want to do here is you want to Thunder the Mono Drive and then just get on out of here with Tifa. You can do whatever you want to get rid of that laser cannon. I True Strike for a Synergy and then move the rest of the way up. You could alternatively Thunder again with Cloud. So you just... Okay, we're going to save after this instead of before this. I just wanted to make sure the Mono Drives weren't moving, but I forgot how long this little cutscene is.
Yep.
It's not exactly long, but it's not short either. Alright, so I'll do this fight a few times. This one's not too bad. This is really an easy fight. It's just a matter of lock on Thunder Magnify, and then get the hell out of here with Tifa. And then you can Thunder Magnify with Cloud if you really want to. There you go. So this room is really weird. You want to just Catastrophe that guy, and I'm serious, that's about it. You can come over here, but I'm just gonna Thunder this dude on purpose. See, everything else is dead. Wait for it. There you go. The reason is that Thunder Synergy procs as soon as he's done with Catastrophe, which just happens to time out perfectly to kill that trooper. You do need to wait just a little bit before firing off the Catastrophe at the rest of the group to make that work. That room's pretty much free. And the crates I hit were MP crates, so it's your choice on to whether you want to use Cloud's Thunder or not. You could also, I'll show you how to do both rooms again real quick. You could also mash out Braver as well. And I'll kind of show you how a mash out works. So we're going to lock on Thunder, and then we're just going to zip on out of here. Cloud gets a stagger, so he gets more ATB.
You're good.
You want to try and get as far as you can with the fleeing, so you kind of want to like hold back. So, Catastrophe. You kind of notice how I lag there a bit. And we can just do this. And I mashed out a Braver. Tifa, that's the something you got to be careful of. I tried to switch my shortcuts over Barrett, but because the Synergy was active and he had one in Quay, I switched to Barrett and it pushed me back into Cloud's menu instead of letting me mash into Tifa's menu. So I started casting Thundiga instead of following up with Star Shower. So right here, we're going to do it again. Catastrophe, grab. And then we have to do this with Cloud because of the the way Synergy works. And then you'll see timing is pretty close. You're better delaying, because if you do it too fast, then you end up won't getting what you want out of it. You'll end up just whiffing with that Synergy Thunder, and you'll have to go over there with somebody else. You could Star Shower with Tifa, too. That's another possible route for that. But we got this big old speech here Barrett's given us. This next room can be very obnoxious. I'm going to show you it really doesn't matter how you deal with it. It's just going to devolve into a catastrophe thing. And the reason it devolves into catastrophe is so we can get Tifa all the way up to the door without wasting a bunch of MP and time. So we're going to skip Thunder. So Cloud got two... God dang it. This is what you got to worry about right here, this BS. Sometimes Catastrophe will hit through the wall, and sometimes it won't. Load. That Shock Trooper, you can deal with a couple of different ways. Sorry, Clara, it's just not today. This is already 25 minutes in. So Catastrophe, you can Thundera if you want. You can True Strike. Like, you could do a ton of different stuff. You're better off just letting it be with the Thunder. Just make sure that the Shock Trooper isn't targeting Tifa, basically, and you'll be fine. So you want to Catastrophe, Thunder, Tifa, and then if he's not facing Tifa like that, you're fine. You just keep an eye on which... So, unless you hit him with, like, Thundiga Magnify, you're not going to one-shot him with Catastrophe. I'll show you that you can do that, but you're going to end up using a lot more MP than you want, and it takes a while. Thundiga... no, Catastrophe. You can also cancel out commands. Thundiga Magnify will put him on the floor, but it will cost you 10 MP, and you still got to wait 2 ticks anyway of Catastrophe. So I'd say it's better to just keep an eye on it. Right here, use Thunder or Thundera, whichever floats your boat. I would say just use Thunder because you don't need the extra damage. Thunder, Catastrophe. Okay, and that's what I was warning about right there. That Star Shower. That is extremely lucky.
Would kill for a shower.
I guess he must have got off the ceiling. The trick is, if you're really having issues with the menu, like I seem to be right now, just remember who's on what, right? So, Cloud, right 2 is... R2 is Barrett, R2 is... I remember why I do things a specific way now. So, the problem here is, I keep trying to start out with Cloud. You need to start with Barrett and then Cloud, because of Synergy. Synergy keeps kicking me out of the menu, so Catastrophe cannot be input properly. Synergy is a very unique materia that will be a pain in your ass until the day you're done running this game, and it will also be the coolest thing that happens in this game. You need to be very careful about how you deal with it. This room right here, you need to save out here to practice it. Because if you just reset this room over and over again, the one trooper, here I'll show you, actually. So, this trooper on the console will Catastrophe the room, Thunder. He gets off of the console as soon as everybody else is dead. If you reset if you just reload, he'll get off as soon as possible. So the easiest way here is just to, you can Catastrophe if you want, but that requires the clustering to be correct. You're better off just just trying to Thunder Magnify every elite trooper in here. See, there he is. It does take him a little bit to get off the platform, but this room is really weird. I think I already somehow managed to trigger the AI properly, but Catastrophe can work in all of these rooms. If you screw up and cast a Thundiga, you're more than welcome to do that. Just remember that Catastrophe is going to be at least a 10-second investment because it takes 5 to put him in the air and 10, another 5 to 10 for him to finish up Catastrophe. And that's assuming it hits everything in the room. Normally it's 15, but he's not required to interact in some cases or will be warped down immediately. But it's usually about 15 seconds if there's a cutscene he needs to be involved in. So this is a really bad place to spam Catastrophe. Very bad. It's going to put you in a really bad position. This room right here is pretty easy to do as Cloud. We'll just take care of the Elite Grenader normally, and then Thunder, and then we want to do that. And what you can do is try and get over here with Tifa and break these. You can also just ignore this crate because it's just a little bit of MP. But I'll try and show you how to do this room right. The thing is you're probably better off just waiting for the second Thunder, because you just need to get rid of the one Elite through a Synergy proc. Thunder, and then Thunder. So something like that'll work. You can always wait to do the Thunder just to pick up that crate. It's your choice on whether you want to bother with this one or not. I think I found that I ended up needing it. So we want to Thunder that guy. Okay. Thunder that dude. What I'm looking for is Tifa to break the crate. What you optimally want is Tifa to break the crate and to land right next to this console. You pick your poison, whether you want the crate or not. I find that having the extra full MP here is going to be very helpful. The Shock Troopers are the biggest jerks in this entire chapter, and I don't like them. You want to Catastrophe and Thundiga, and the Thundiga is going to put them out ass first on the floor, so Catastrophe will take care of them, so that you can get all the way up here. If you're not familiar, I am parry sailing, so that requires guarding, and hitting triangle and parry or dodge at the same time. And this will cancel the parry so that you get only the fastest portion of it. So if you mash in a proper rhythm, you can get very fast movement speed. So Catastrophe takes so long, so that takes precedent, and then Thundiga, switch to Tifa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm right next to the door. Nothing but Thundiga will work, though. Thundera can sometimes crit to put them on their asses, but Thundiga will 100% do it. Now I'll show you what happens if you say, I don't need to cast no Thundiga. I don't know. That can happen. It also takes an extra tick. But more often what will happen is one of them will follow Tifa. I'm sure they're going to be not going to work with me. But you can even end up with them in a really weird position where, like, see that one's around the corner so he didn't get hit by anything because Cloud came around. That's how this fight works. I would always suggest doing the Thundiga. Even if you're low on MP, I'd take that damage loss on the boss and get these two down. That's actually really bad. I could have also Thunder'd from far away. I knew Catastrophe and its blast zone wasn't going to hit that guy. So, once again, Catastrophe into Thundiga Magnify. And then if you're really, like, worried about it, you can kind of circle around him. But you will lose a little bit of time having to walk up here instead of being right next to the switch. We're getting close to the menu here. That's the bread and butter of this chapter, for me. You can choose to do this menu much earlier or much later. I think this is the optimal time to do it. This room right here is not very challenging, so I'm just going to show off a few tech things that you can practice in this room while you're waiting or warm yourself up for the boss. But for the most part, this room's pretty simple. We're on a timer, so Catastrophe is 0 time loss here, so we can kind of do whatever we want. We'll just chill out, you know, get hit by a couple of stupid things. We got this Grenader down here. So I want to show you some tech with Tifa while we're here. So you can cancel focus strikes. But look at what I'm doing with the controller. I'm parrying out of it. I can also do the same to parry out of the lowest point of uppercut and spam it very quickly, which gives me a ton of ATB so that I can do stuff like this. You're going to need to learn the parry canceling method for Airbuster. You can take a very safe Airbuster if you want and wait for Tank Buster to resolve, but don't be afraid to go for the Tank Buster focus thrust. It's not some super technical timing, it's not some god level tech. Trust me, it's very reasonable. So we're going to Thunder here because I'm a bonehead and forgot to do the menu. So Barrett's got ATB, the boost, or not boost, but synergy here. So the damage is really low because Barrett's the one dealing it. And the downside to doing it this way is Cloud's MP is trash because he doesn't get MP absorbed. So I'll show you what that room is actually like with the actual strats and doing the menu. This is why I do the menu when I do it. And I'll show you some the Tifa stuff again. It is pretty tight timing. Some of the time, you need to pay attention when you're watching boss strats because you won't actually want to cancel the move with parry. Because if you cancel the move with parry, ATB assist won't activate. So look at this. Just kind of build up ATB real quick here. Then we can cancel focus strike. But if you notice, I don't get ATB assist active unless I do the commands back to back. So focus strike, punch, focus strike will trigger ATB assist. Focus strike, parry, focus strike will not. Focus strike, punch, true strike will trigger ATB assist. Focus strike, parry, true strike will not. So remember, you need to link your two commands by a physical attack because of the weird way Tifa's focus strike works. Other attacks, normally you can just do them back to back. So like true strike. You can just do those back to back and it'll trigger ATB assist. But focus strike is very weird where you have to poke in between. So I call it focus, poke, focus. Is the way to remember it. So for the menu here, we're going to leave Cloud alone. We're going to give Goddard Dumrung to Tifa, and we're also going to give EKG to Barrett. I'll show you EKG's setup here in a second, but first, Synergy for Magnify. So EKG does start with Lightning Synergy, Ice, Time, Luck Up, Luck Up. You can make this an MP Luck Up if you want. I correct this later, so he has double Luck Up right now. We want Synergy here because we're going to swap it out for Magnify. Barrett doesn't need Magnified Lightning. It's the fact that Cloud needs Synergy Lightning for the boss. This will save 30 seconds on the boss, depending on how gutsy you go for it. I'd say even a more laid-back one will get you 10-15 seconds saved versus older strats. This is PC, PS5 exclusive. Synergy does not function the same on other consoles. It only functions this way on Intergrade. So if you have PS4, you're going to need to look at some of the older fights. Maybe I'll look into doing those as well when I'm in the process of rerouting PS4 for my runs when I do get to them. But you also want to demagnify these two spells. You're going to need Thunder on the boss, and the Thunder is going to be used to break one of the cutter's cutting wheels. So I'll show you kind of how that works. I keep screwing it up in real runs, but you'll get it.
No way we're getting back.
So you want to make sure to Thunder the cutting arm. That will make the sweeper move in a weird way so that it doesn't back up directly into the or it will do exactly that. Well, actually what it does, you see kind of how it's at a stopped point. There you go. What you're trying to do is you see, like, the sweeper will normally block you from jumping up that vault. So I'll show you what happens if you don't, like, blow one of the arms up to keep it in place. So we'll go over here,
No
go over
way
here,
we're getting back up that pipe.
over here.
Keep looking.
So we'll just lock onto the main body and throw a thunder out. Doesn't matter. I could throw nothing out. So we're gonna thunder on purpose on the body. See how the sweeper backs up. And then it backs up again. The problem here is the sweeper will normally be in your way and will keep you from progressing forward and vaulting this. So you're better off breaking one of the wheels, but if you do it right, you can just vault right over it. So that's something to keep in mind. Notice that Cloud's HP is, or MP is back at full. The last ditch crate to save yourself is here. Remember, even if you're hurting for HP, Tifa needs 44 MP. She needs 44 MP, she needs 44 MP. If you have to go out of your way to put an MP up on her to get her to that MP value, do it. Your only other option would be to go with Thunders instead, and that's going to screw up your damage to where you have to make sure to get the synergy with Barrett as well. She can do it with less. You can cast 4 Thunders instead of Thunderas, but you're going to end up having to do a lot more work in the boss fight and lose a lot of time. So Cloud needs to be maxed, and Tifa needs to be at 44 MP. You can go with, like, what is it, 5? So 40? I believe that's right.
It's simple.
No, 49 MP.
I'll take left.
You can go with 40 or 39 MP instead of 40. But if it's if one cure is the difference between that, you need to go out of your way to grab that crate.
In that case, follow my lead.
There's no point in like putting an MP up on it and grabbing the crate. That just increases the percentage at the moment. Or well, you can actually. It will increase the actual flat number you get, and then you can take the MP back off, the MP up back off. But the thing is taking the MP off and putting it on is percentage based, so it doesn't like remove a static amount of MP. So if the MP up plus the crate is enough, then. But I'd say just micromanage your MP so you're not healing every 5 seconds and try not to heal everything until you're, you know, you've healed yourself silly. Okay, so Airbuster is a little bit different. I know I already have a video for him, but I'm going to show off the strat anyway. We'll try and do this a little bit slower. So we're going to start with a Thundera from Cloud. This will hopefully keep Cloud from getting shocked. We're going to Thundera and lock on. Airbuster switch to Tifa. True Strike. Uppercut. And then we want to Focus Strike. Remember what I said, we want to poke in between. I did a couple extra attacks to make sure I had enough ATB, and then Focus Strike. See assist activating right there, Barrett and Thundiga. That's very weird. Cloud got stunned, but I think he cast Thunder before he got stunned. So that's not supposed to happen with that setup, that you're supposed to be okay, so... Thundera, switch True Strike, Uppercut, Focused, Poke Focused. And then poke again. Now you want to refocus here with Tifa. Switch to Cloud and start building some bar as Airbuster moves away. Don't focus on it too much. Wait till he stops. Thundiga. Focus Strike. And you can get 2 Focus Strikes as long as you're doing this right. Parry, 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 parry. Now make sure you buffer your input. Okay? You gotta buffer that Focus Strike. Okay? If you don't do it the way that I did on the input viewer, you're going to end up getting caught by Tank Buster and getting blown away. You can sometimes input it quickly enough, but you want to be holding the circle and then open up the shortcut menu and the game will automatically input it for you. See kind of how that is? I'm holding triangle and you can very much buffer inputs. Game is not... Okay. You know, it's probably easier to buffer inputs like this.
Think fast.
Buzz off.
It's very weird. I think it works best when you're switching between characters, but you just want to make sure you buffer that input when you're going into it. That's sometimes why you can drop it as well. So we'll go back in and build up a little bit more here. So Thundera swap, lock on, True Strike, Uppercut to build ATB, Focus Strike, poke, get another focus strike in there. ATB assist is activated, and Cloud has launched off 2 thunders. Barrett and Cloud have pretty decent ATB. Don't worry about his ATB at this point. Stops Thundaga. Slide in here. True strike or focus strike. Slide focus strike. Slide focus strike. If you're really greedy, focus strike into true strike. Poke and uppercut. The poke you don't need. You're wanting that uppercut more than anything. You can focus strike and then uppercut, 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 uppercut. You can fix Cloud's ATB with ATB boost. What you're looking for is to get as much ATB as possible. So we're going to Thundaga, and guard just to correct the ATB. Notice that she's still at full even after I did Thundera. That's because I activated Skill Master there. So we'll switch over to Barrett here and overcharge just to build some ATB. We want to stick to the left of Airbuster here. That will keep him delayed on doing the finger laser. If you're very far away, you'll get this attack instead, but you want to make sure Barrett's on the left side so that even if you cast a little bit slow, the finger lasers will come out later. You can use it. Pay attention to when whatever his name is, the head of security, is talking. And I believe once he says, it's unfortunate, Avalanche, or whatever, after the first line, that's when you start casting Thundaga. Should never miss in that case. Just use that as an audio cue when he finishes his first line. You could also react to the... There's a lot of different places where you can react, so just kind of like figure out what's your timing. So Thundera, True Strike, uppercut, poke, 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 focus. This is going to be bad. So what we're trying to do is keep Cloud from getting zapped by the balls, and doing the Thundera into True Strike is usually what keeps the static balls from dropping, so Cloud doesn't get stunned. True Strike, or focused, parry focused, parry focused, focus, and then you can uppercut, 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 uppercut if you want. ATB boost with Cloud. So the True Strike isn't super needed there because you've already got one at the beginning, so you're still on your Skill Master loop. So you can do that to simplify things and get to uppercuts in. It does strip you of ATB boost, which is a good backup with Cloud, but that's fine. Thundaga, Thundaga, Thundera, Thundera. So I'll show you the more slower route with this. Thundera, Thundera, Thundera. Okay, now we switch to Barrett and Thundera. And you can also get a Thunder in with him as well. And that will trigger another Skill Master loop. And there you go, Thunder Cloud, see? So that's kind of like, with Barrett you have an additional Thunder, which will loop into an additional Thunder, Thundera, or Thundaga, and Overcharge. As long as Tifa triggers ATB assist the 4 times you're looking for, because that with Skill Master, she gets a proc of it, so now she can perform 4 commands in a row. And that way, you can double trigger assist for 1200 ATB instead of 600. So that's something to keep in mind. Just try not to get, you shouldn't need all that extra stuff, but if things go wrong, switch to Barrett and start spamming the other spells that you haven't used with Overcharge, and you'll be fine. It'll be slow, but you'll get through the fight. So I hope this massive video has helped with Chapter 7. Chapter 7, I find, is one of the early game barriers to completion and getting through. Airbuster is a very hard fight that takes a lot of practice. I hope this additional addendum will help along with the video that I did make that would focus specifically on him. And I hope the chapter walkthrough helped as well. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you next time when we upload Chapter 8. Alright, I will see you then, and I'm out of here. Peace.